Welcome to the Selling from the Heart podcast on the Salescast Network. You've joined a global movement of sales professionals who are dedicated to being authentic and building trust. We call it Selling from the Heart. Together, we are on a mission to bring sincerity and substance to the sales profession we all love. Get ready to be inspired and equipped as we join our hosts, Larry Levine and Darrell Amy.
Larry here. Before we dive into this episode, I want to share something with you that I'm really excited about. Are you ready to connect with your clients on a deeper level and truly make a difference in their lives? Then discover your authentic selling style with Selling from the Heart. At sellingfromtheheart.net/selling-style, you'll find a powerful online program that will help you tap into your unique strengths and abilities to create authentic and successful sales interactions. If you want to show up authentically for your prospects and clients to grow your sales, we created this just for you. So head on over to sellingfromtheheart.net/selling-style now and discover your authentic selling style today.
Welcome back to the Selling from the Heart podcast. Your host, Darrell Amy, here today with Larry Levine. What's going on, Larry?
Another day in the Selling from the Heart podcast studios. I absolutely love podcasting, Darrell.
It is so fun. The new year is off to a great start. And one of the best things about the Selling from the Heart podcast, and welcome if you're new, you've joined a growing movement of sales professionals that are dedicated to being genuine, being authentic, building trust. We call it Selling from the Heart. And Larry, I just got to say, let's give a shout out to our new listener, actually viewer on YouTube, Rose Ziff. Rose, it is great to have you here.
It's awesome. And it's so wonderful to see messages that keep flooding in on the impact that we're having with Selling from the Heart and this movement around authenticity and building trust in the sales profession. It's awesome.
Yeah, just listen to this from Rose, Larry. Cheers to you and your consistent, inspiring content. I've been following your YouTube channel and got your book on Audible last September, and it has been a pleasure seeing the values of authenticity and integrity lead the way. I love it, Rose. You're a true Selling from the Heart champion, and we just love this community that's growing. Speaking of community, Larry, we just finished up the 2023 Authentic Selling Challenge. What an incredible time.
I'm telling you, from Dawn Barden to Liz Wendling to Meredith Elliott Powell to Colleen Stanley. Wow.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Talk about some mic drop moments and talk about an incredible power pack group of coaches. Now, you may be listening right now going, I didn't know about the Authentic Selling Challenge, Larry and Darrell. Well, you do now. And the good news is we recorded all of it. So Larry set the VCR. He got all the tapes. They're all there. Even better, you don't need a VCR. You can actually go to AuthenticSellingChallenge.com. That's AuthenticSellingChallenge.com. And we've recorded all of the sessions. And thanks to our generous sponsors, they are available to you for free. You can access them right now. And we encourage you to do it. It was just incredible, the talent and the people that are lining up around Selling from the Heart. So AuthenticSellingChallenge.com. And if you came and want to go review those videos, you can go there as well. Well, speaking of talent and incredible people around Selling from the Heart, we got a great guest today, Larry.
Oh, absolutely. But before we bring on our guest, you promised me I'm gonna hit you on this one. Here we are, the beginning of 2023. You promised me last year you wouldn't use the word VCR anymore because you're really dating yourself. So you got to make me a promise. No more VCR. I just had to throw one.
I just want to make you feel comfortable, Larry. We just want to make sure you feel comfortable with the technology you use at home.
Stop.
But hey, this is going to be fun. We've got a fantastic guest here today.
No, we sure do. And it has just been, as you bring in Keith Lubner, it's just been an absolute treat to get to know Keith. Hey, Keith Lubner, welcome. But over the years, Keith's the chief business strategist over at Sales Gravy. Jeb Blunt's a near and dear friend of mine, and just getting to know Keith has been just a blessing. We've shared the stage at Outbound last year, and it's just been great. But I got to share with everybody. There's a side of Keith that I really, really love. And if you follow Keith on Facebook, Keith is actually known for sharing Atlantic Coast beach pictures. And it's like every weekend there's a great picture, and it's the sand and it's the ocean. And sometimes there's a sales gravy mug in there, but that's a little side note on Keith. But Keith Lubner, welcome to Selling from the Heart podcast.
Thank you so much. And I have to say that, I'm thrilled. We've been trying to do this for, I think, a year now, Larry. I think not this past outbound, but the outbound before that. We're finally able to do that. And life is absolutely crazy. But, I want to give you a shout out as well. I think you are one of the nicest, if not the nicest men in sales. You have such a kind heart, and I love your approach to sales around relationships and being authentic and really selling, well, to what you're all known about, selling from your heart. So I want to give you a shout out because I've always admired that about you. And I've loved every single one of our conversations that we've had over the years, especially at the Outbound conference and especially right there on stage. So thank you, actually.
No, I appreciate it. Hey, by the way, Keith, keep it coming. Just come on. Give us some more of this, Keith.
You heard it here, folks.
You know why I post all those pictures? I'm hardly in any of those pictures. I post pictures of sunsets and of sunrises and of the beach, and I get comments back from people. And it at the end of the day, what it does is it just makes people feel good.
Yeah.
That's right.
They smile when they look at that. In fact, you even said that to me at the last conference. Like, I smile every time I see it. That's exactly why I do that.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, you heard it here first, folks. The nicest man in sales.
The nicest man in sales.
There you go. Right on.
That one is the hardest working man in sales.
There you go.
Larry is the nicest man in sales.
There you go.
There you go. I love that. I think that'll work. Well, Keith, the question that every guest on the Selling from the Heart podcast answers. And I'm really looking forward to your answer to what does it mean to you to sell from the heart? Wow, that's a big question. I've been in sales for over 30. It's gonna be 33 years now, and I've started a couple companies along the way there. It's how Jeb and I met several years ago. We were collaborating on and. I go back to the conversation that Jeb and I had. I don't think you know this, Larry. Conversation Jeb and I had when we first met one another, and we absolutely hit it off as far as just our philosophies and things like that. But what was telling is it was almost word for word the same words came out of our mouths, and what we said is, we just want to work with people that we like to be around with, that we really like. Now, when you posed that question to me, it's the first thing that popped in my head was at the end of the day, you just want to be around people that you like. You just want to be around people that you get along with. You just want to be around people that make you feel good, about doing what you're doing. So when I think of selling, that's what I think of. I don't think of selling, at people. I think of selling with people. And when I look at my clients, and they're all over the world, but when I look at them, it's that personal connection that seems to override everything else out there. Because here's the reality. I mean, I've been 33 years. I've been doing this. The reality is this: we all could twist somebody's arm and sell them something.
Oh, sure.
If we really tried, we could. Now, what happens though is you're never able to sell them something else afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say from the heart, it's when you come across as authentic, as truly, truly caring about solving their problems and showing a genuine interest in that and not being afraid that if you can't solve it to walk away, then that to me is the absolute epitome of selling from the heart. And it will come back to you in droves. And I've had people 20 years later just call me up and say, I'd like to do business with you. And we didn't do business 20 years ago. And it was because you treated people with respect, you were authentic, you were kind. And I think there's a place in the world for nice guys in sales, quite frankly. I really do.
there you go. I love how you redirect that back, Keith. That was spot on. I want to play off of something that you said as we start diving into this podcast. By the way, it's going to be a terrific conversation. As I was listening to what you're saying, I was focusing in on what's behind you. And I know what's behind you on the screen. It's fanatical prospecting.
Yes.
And I want to tie in something here because I believe it. I just have to say it is, what would it be like if we became fanatical about finding people just like us, right? We know how prospecting's tough. It's a necessity. But when we're out there prospecting, it's selling from the heart. We always talk about, alignment of values. Does our values line with their values? Our company values line with their company values? But what would it be like in the very beginning when we're out there prospecting to become fanatical about engaging in conversations with people just like us, but conversely, disengaging when it's not the right fit? And I love that you brought that up, Keith.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we teach this a lot. We teach this. In fact, I just taught it the other day. A matter of fact, we teach a way of developing your list where you're honing in on exactly what you're talking about. And there's certain dimensions in what we teach. There's 9 dimensions to what we're looking for. Think of it like attributes, if you will. And you have to have certain attributes. And if you line up on certain attributes at the high level, that's ideal. You want to work there all day long, twice on Sunday, right? Yep. You want to do that. But there's one of the attributes is stakeholder attribute, which is people. And one of the dimensions within people is kind of what you're talking about there. It's, do you line up philosophically with them? Do you line up from a value base? Now, one of the other profiles is, or dimensions, is fit. And that goes also into, do they value the same things that you value, or do they not? Now, when you start to really assess that, you start to get on the same page, and that makes a fantastic, this word I think is overused in sales, partnership, but that's what it makes at the end of the day. It makes a great collaboration because you line up on those attributes. And here's the thing, and I'm glad you mentioned this about being fanatical, because every single day you have to be out there trying to meet people, trying to touch, because the pipe is, we say this as sales gravy, the pipe is life. It is exactly what allows you the flexibility to, if you don't line up to the values, if they're not the type of person you want to deal with, you can then put the hand up and say, no, I don't want to work with you, because you have choices. If you don't prospect, if you're not fanatical about that, if you don't have a strong pipe, you by default don't have choices. Then you'll feel forced or compelled to try to work with that person, and you'll be miserable in the end.
Yep. Amen on that one.
That's so true. Oh man, I think we've all been there, and this is why, taking that approach of saying, we're going to get alignment, we're going to be fanatical about it, we're going to be consistent with this, is so critical. Well, Keith, as we are here at the beginning of a fresh, brand spanking new year, it's an interesting time to be in sales. And we wanted to have this conversation today. We're really looking forward to thinking together about what are the biggest trends that we're seeing together in sales. What's going on as we look forward from where we are today into this year ahead? What are some of the biggest trends in sales leadership? And then we'll circle back to some of the biggest things we're seeing in sales itself. So with that, let's kick it off. Keith, what is one of the biggest trends that you're seeing right now in sales leadership?
Well, I'm actually going to flip that around a little bit. It's not necessarily a trend, but it's really what people need to think about. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, let's we'll be real for a second. Take a look at the last couple of years here. We've gone through, for over 2 years, a pandemic, and that flipped people upside down in all which ways. And now we're coming out of that. But what's happening is we're coming out of it, but we're going into something else at the same time, which is frustrating a lot of people. But here's the thing that will work. no matter what. Pandemic, not pandemic. Recession, not recession. I don't care what's happening. I don't care what crisis is going on. What I'm about to say is it works, period. Period. And it's this. Leaders and salespeople, what they must do to be successful is they have to get back to the basics. Because it was, and it was pretty easy to sell stuff over the last couple of years. The problem was not selling it. The problem wasn't that. The problem was the supply chain. And for most industries, for most of what people were doing, that was the problem. It was so easy to sell something. In fact, you didn't even have to budge and negotiate and move or do anything like that because you could sell it at what you needed to sell it at. Those days are gone. And we're coming into a period where it's going to be difficult in spots. And whenever I hear that or see that, it says, get back to the basics, because the basics always win. Look at all the sports teams out there, ones that win championships. Every single one of them, they do the basics really well. If you would analyze it, football teams, they're doing the blocking and tackling really well, and they're not, getting penalties, right? They're running the routes really well. The simple things, the basics. So when I think about the question you just posed, it's absolutely that. You got to get back to the basics. And we were hitting on it earlier with prospecting. You got to do it every day. Every day. Over the holidays, people were talking to me about that. And I said, you know what? Just do a little bit each day. And it will absolutely add up. Here's another example. It gets pretty slow. People take time off during the holidays. Now, when I look back in December, there was a period there where we were running into the Christmas holiday, and it was pretty slow. But what I did is I sent out about 20 over a course of like 2 days, 3 days, and I challenged my team to do the same thing. I sent out about 20 video messages. And it's about, short 20 to 30 seconds. That's it. Just video message, email it off. And there's platforms that do that and stuff. And I had, I think out of the 20, 18 people responded back. Now they all viewed it, but 18 actually spent the time to respond back on that. Looking into 2023, I know what's going to happen here. Those are going to anchor in the relationships that we need to be anchored in. Most of them, if not all of them, were clients, right? But it's going to anchor in those relationships as we move into 2023. So one of the basics is look at your install base. Mm-hmm. Look at your existing customers. Put your arms around them. Just give them a really genuine message. I mean, to what you write about, Larry. Give them a genuine message and they'll respond. But more importantly, it'll anchor in that relationship. It'll hold off competitors. And when opportunities pop up at these customers, who do you think they're going to think of first? That's one of the basics. That when I get back to the basics, that's one of the basics that people, they actually need to do.
And I'm so glad, Keith, and thank you for bringing this up, because basics do work. Basics do work. Simple things work. I'm a firm believer, if you can't do the simple, basic things correctly, consistently, and the right way, you're never going to be able to do the big things. And it's just, a lot of times in sales, and we're all guilty of it, salespeople love chasing shiny objects. So do sales leaders and sales managers. But if we just take a step back, do the simple things, and I'm glad that you brought up your install base and your clients. It starts there. Just simply give, what we call it here at Selling from the Heart, give a rip. Just simply give a rip about your clients. It's the little things. Well, I said, if you can't do the little things correctly, the big things, you're never going to be able to do the big things correctly.
Yeah.
Never.
Well, I think it's like offense and defense, to take the sports analogy, right? We're going to be on offense. We're going to be prospecting, but you gotta play defense to win as well. Hey, this is a fantastic conversation. And one of the new spots, as you know, if you listened to last week at Selling from the Heart, is here in our show. We're going to be featuring a video every week of a Selling from the Heart champion and what it means to them to sell from the heart. We've got a great spot right here from none other than our good friend, Selling from the Heart coach, Bill McCormick himself. So after a brief word from our sponsor, let's listen to Bill and we'll rejoin this great conversation with Keith. Hey, are you ready to take your sales to the next level? At Selling from the Heart, we believe that authenticity wins. And that's why we created the all-new program, Discover Your Authentic Selling Style. This is a powerful program that will help you tap into your unique strengths and abilities to create authentic and successful sales interactions. If you believe in selling from the heart and want to grow your sales, we created this course just for you. So head over to sellingfromtheheart.net/selling-style and discover your authentic selling style today.
Hi, everyone. Bill McCormick here from Selling from the Heart. So what does selling from the heart mean to me? Well, first of all, the heart to me is not the physical muscle that beats inside my chest. When I say heart, it means the essence of who I really am. And when I sell from the heart, I see my clients and my potential clients as humans first, as people who also have a heart of the essence of who they are. And I don't see them as a dollar sign or a name in a CRM. But in each interaction, when I'm selling from the heart, I'm looking to deepen our relationship and make a real, true connection with them. And that, to me, is selling from the heart.
All right. Welcome back. That was amazing. Bill, you're an incredible. We're so great to hang out with Bill McCormick. It is always an inspiration, isn't it, Larry?
I'm a massive Bill McCormick fan. Always have been for years. And I'm so glad he's a coach here at Selling from the Heart.
Well, we're having this great conversation here today with Keith Lubner. And Keith, we've been talking about 2023, kind of looking forward as sales professionals and sales leaders. What are some other things that you're seeing as you're looking forward from your perspective right there on the East Coast?
All right, I'm going to go back to the basics that we were talking about earlier, because I got to keep coming back to that, because it is going to be, I mean, they keep throwing the R word around, the recession word around, but yet nobody's planted a stake in the ground and has said we're actually in one, right? But I believe we are, and so do a lot of people. And if that's the case, don't wait. You have to, I like the offense defense sort of strategy. You have to be on the offensive. So what that says is get your arms around things like simple things like your time. It's really interesting. I get this. I'm all over the world training people. Doing workshops everywhere, all over the world, all different time zones, all different types of people, selling all different types of things. And I often get, in fact, I'm writing an article about this that'll be out in a couple of weeks. I often get one question every single time in multiple languages. And it's crazy. And Jeb does too, by the way. But the one question I get is, Keith, now think about this as we enter 2023. What's the magic in sales?
It goes back to the shiny object, silver bullet. Everyone's looking for it.
Exactly. They're looking for, there's commercial, like the easy button, right?
What's the trick play?
The trick play. I know. I'm from Philadelphia. So, I mean, when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, we had the Philly special going on. There you go. Right? But they didn't win the game because of that. They won the game because they were blocking, right?
That's right. But
I get that question all the time. And it's really interesting to get it in a different language when somebody's, translating for you as well, too. And I laugh every time, because here's the reality. There's no magic in sales. None. No magic in sales. Now, if there's something close to getting you there, it's how are you going to manage your time? And how are you going to do that? Now, in 2023, I think that's going to be the number one thing people need to do, because it was like I said, it was easy before. They're going to need to look at their days and their weeks, and they're going to need to commit themselves to doing more because it was easy before. They're going to need to look at their weeks, and they're going to need to, and when they're making, I'll use prospecting calls, make it simple and do them. They need to get efficient and effective on that. Make sure your message is crisp and practice that. I mean, this is our profession. It's a profession. We are professionals in this. Look at it no other way than that. We're just like doctors. We're just like dentists. We're just, we're professionals in sales. Treat it that way and get really, really focused. Now, if they do that, then I believe no matter what, they'll be successful because people are buying out there, and they always have been buying. The Great Depression, people were buying things.
Yep.
You just had to find them. That's all.
Yeah.
I am so glad, Keith, you brought up the word professionals, because I mean, in selling from the heart, and I've been poking at this for years now. There's a massive difference between sales reps and sales professionals. Yeah. Doctors are professionals, right? Attorneys, love them or hate them, are professionals. Athletes are professionals. They do those things consistently day in and day out. I'm glad you brought up prospecting. I'm glad you brought up time, because it ties right in to what we talk about at Selling from the Heart, which is disciplined habits. Yeah. In 2023, and it ties right into this, Keith, salespeople, sales leaders, sales managers, key on this. You must bring disciplined habits to the forefront. In 2023, you have to block and tackle. You have to grab a hold of your calendar. You got to have time management, and you got to bring radical consistency to everything. And I'm so glad we're having this conversation, Darrell and Keith, about simple and basic. It's right in line with, those are what professionals do. Just real quick, listen to a professional at the end of a game. If they had a bad game or something happened, inevitably they go, you know what? I got to get back to the basics.
Yeah.
I have to get back to the basics. Tomorrow, I'm going to practice the basics.
Yeah, I think, and it's interesting, Larry, that you spoke about disciplines. Disciplines. I love, what was the phrase? You said radical
consistency. Radical consistency.
I absolutely love. Think about disciplines, and wow, we're on such a same page, because we talk about 5 disciplines of ultra high performers. In fact, I'm giving a keynote the first week of the first week in the new year around all of that. I'm talking about, in fact, I'm giving like 3 of them over the first 3 months around the 5 disciplines of ultra high performers. Now, when you think about these disciplines, this is exactly, to answer Darrell's question, this is exactly what people need to think about in 2023. Discipline. Think about it. Pipeline discipline. The discipline to put opportunities into the pipe, and you have to prospect to do that. And when you have that, to what I was saying earlier, you have choices in how you can then, utilize your time. But you have to have time discipline in order to do that effectively, right? They all play into one another. And then the other discipline is around probability discipline. If you have enough in the pipeline, you then know you can work on an opportunity that's marinated, that's ready to go, and not on one that's not yet ready to go. Probabilities. You're bending your probability in your favor by having a lot in the pipeline and then focusing your energies on what's in the pipeline. And then there's 2 others that people forget about. And it's emotional discipline and it's people discipline.
Oh, there you go.
And they forget about those. And what happens is you start running people over. And what you have to remember, when I say you, I mean everybody has to remember that it's a dual process in sales. You have to be outcome focused and driven to put stuff into the pipeline, but you also have to be relationship focused as well. If you run over people and you get, for instance, you get next steps in the sales process, yeah, you're doing a great job, but you're not developing the relationship, and you still could lose the deal, because the relationship, the emotional connection you have with people, it trumps everything else. But if you sit over here and you're developing nothing but relationships, you're making a boatload of friends, but you're not making money, right? You're afraid to get the next step. So you have to be able to, and this is something I learned early in my career, and I was so happy that I had a sales leader that just took me aside and said, "You need to do this," because I was really good, and I still am, in making relationships, developing relationships. I mean, I love selling that way. I love developing, just that connection with people. I love it, and you know what? I'm good at it. But early on, a sales leader said, "You have to remember that it's sales. You have to remember that you have to flex to the other side and get an outcome. And if you do both, you win." So I know that when I'm in a sales situation, I know I have to trigger myself to move to that other side of the spectrum to get a next step, to get an outcome. And when you balance the both of those, you win. You win a lot more than other people. I'll give you an example of this. An example of this is a study that, and I use this a lot, a study that Adam Grant. Adam Grant is, you're familiar with Adam Grant.
Yeah.
Love his podcast. He's here on the East Coast, University of Pennsylvania, professor of psychology. And he did this study on salespeople and on the personalities of salespeople. Now, I grew up in the era, I'm here in the East Coast in New York City, like go, boiler room, strangle it out at the end of the corner, at the end of the quarter, things like that. And he said, you think about extroverts and introverts, and he was able to map it over to how much they made per hour. Fascinating study, right? And I couldn't understand half of it, but I understood that part. And the extrovert or the introverts, introverts, and during the pandemic, the introverts, they were loving the pandemic because they were in their element, right? They were sitting back in their pajamas, just, life was great for them. They made about $120 an hour when he mapped it. And this was across all these different industries. And then he mapped over the extroverts. Now, I was really interested in this one because, again, I'm coming from that boiler room, that Wall Street mentality, all that stuff. I'm like, all right, what do these guys make? Right? Here we go. They made $125 an hour. Yeah. Basically, not even with inflation, not even a Starbucks latte. Different, right? When you really look at it, and then the study goes on and on. Now I was pretty bummed. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? My mind was blown. But the study went on and on and on and on. And in this, and what he got to is he got to a third category he uncovered, and this plays right into what I'm talking about. The third category is somebody that's adaptable, somebody that's flexible, somebody that will be chameleon-like, right? And map over to that extrovert and be their best friend, and map over to that introvert and be their best friend. And that person is called an ambivert. And that person made over $208 an hour.
Awesome.
Now, think about that. I mean, it's relationship and outcome. And you cannot, it's the relationship part, you cannot throw that out. So
awesome. What a great conversation. Keith, this is so fun. This is gonna have to continue. Here we are. The new year is off. This has turned into an incredible, powerful episode for everybody. And I'm so thankful that you've shared time with us today. Before we wrap up, though, I got to ask Keith, how can people get more Keith in their lives? How can we get access to these incredible photographs by the Atlantic Ocean?
Oh, no. I'm going to have 1 million followers now. I love it. Salesgravy.com. Go to salesgravy.com. I'm up there. My team is up there. We're seeing such a great 2023 lining up for us, but go there. I mean, all our resources are there. All of our courses are there. The 15 books that Jeb has written, it's all sitting up there. You'll see me, and I'm right up there. Just connect with me. I'm on LinkedIn. Just, connect with me on LinkedIn. Just reference the podcast here that we're on, so I know to connect back to you. But yeah, that's how you can find us. It's really simple.
Awesome.
No, well, thank you for hanging out with us. We're big fans. I'm a big fan of yours, Keith. We're big fans of Jeb and what y'all are doing at Sales Gravy. Just keep continuing to do great work and raise the sales profession.
You as well, my friend. You as well. I so enjoy our conversations, and I think the work you do is absolutely awesome. So keep doing what you're doing.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Keith. Larry, here we go. Yeah. That was powerful and so spot on. So spot on. All of what we're talking about right now as we look forward into this year, R word or no R word, whatever headline is in the newspaper, the reality is, uncertainty is out there. There's fear in the air. And this means we've got to get back to the basics. And what we talked about right at the end, I think was so spot on in terms of, yes, relationship, and yes, value, these two sides of the trust coin that we talk about all the time. This is a time we got to get focused. And Larry, I'm so thankful for the community and Selling from the Heart and the focus that brings by hanging around like-hearted sales professionals that are dedicated to bringing excellence to their clients. And so what a powerful conversation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it just, I just got to say this. I'm not a gambler. I don't like gambling. I love going to Las Vegas, but I love watching people gamble. I don't use my own money to gamble. However, there's a caveat to this. If I was to gamble, I would throw all my chips in on the basics in 2023. I'd go back to the basics. I'd keep things simple. I grew up with a father who was a rocket scientist, so I know what overly complicated things look like. That's why I kept things simple, and I did the little things over and over again. Throw all your chips, go to Vegas, throw all your chips in 2023 to keeping things simple and get back to the basics. We all live in a B2B world. It's business to business, but it's back to basics.
That's right. Well, hey, at Selling from the Heart, we love hearing from our listeners. And one of the new features that you're seeing in our podcast is every week we're featuring a short video clip of somebody that is answering the question that all of our guests answer. And that is, what does it mean to you to sell from the heart? So if you would like to submit a video for the podcast, we'd love to hear from you. Just go into the show notes and you'll see a link there where you can submit your video to answer the question, what does it mean to sell from the heart? Yeah, all of them will go on our YouTube page and some of them will get featured in the podcast. So we'd love for you to do that. That would mean a ton. We've got so many exciting things coming up. Nigel Green is coming up on Friday at the Selling from the Heart Insiders Group. And if you are not yet in the Selling from the Heart Insiders Group, let me tell you right now, you want to be.
Yes.
And if you want to just test it out, we've got a free pass for you. So go to sellingfromtheheart.net/free pass and get your one free pass and join us. You'll get a taste of what happens inside the Insiders Group. And I know you're going to love our friend, Nigel Green, sales leadership guru and all around great guy, author of The Revenue Harvest, coming up on Friday. If you're listening later, go to sellingfromtheheart.net/free pass and get a free pass to one of our future up closes and personals. There you
go. I guess that's how you. Hey, everyone, that's how they talk down in the South. So
that's right. Absolutely. Well, Larry, we've got a lot of exciting things coming up. As we said at the top of the show, if you want to get the recordings from the Authentic Selling Challenge that just happened last week, these are fresh out of the oven. So grab them at AuthenticSellingChallenge.com. So excited about all the things that are ahead.
I tell everyone, brace yourself. 2023 is going to be one amazing year here at Selling from the Heart.
Well, thank you to everybody. Thanks again to Keith. And until next time, keep being genuine, keep being authentic, keep building trust, go back to the basics, and most of all, sell from the heart.